The unmistakable aroma of fried chicken fills the air as millions of customers worldwide bite into that signature crispy coating. Behind every red and white bucket lies one of the most sophisticated food production systems ever created, and world's most recognizable fast food. And we're here to take you behind those factory doors. The life of a chicken that will one day become a crispy, golden piece of KFC starts long before it ever hatches. It begins with what's called the breeder flock, carefully selected parent birds raised on specialized farms. These are not the same chickens that end up as food, they're the genetic foundation. Their only job is to produce hatching eggs that will go on to become broilers. For 18 days, the eggs stay in these massive incubators. The entire process takes about 20 days. When the first tiny cracks appear, you can hear a faint tapping, thousands of chicks pecking their way into life. Rows of automatic feeders and water lines stretch the length of the house, ensuring food and water are always within reach. These are precision-built. Feed flows through auger pipes at timed intervals, and nipple drinkers deliver water drop by drop to prevent spills that could dampen the litter. A modern broiler chicken grows astonishingly fast. In the 1950s, it took about 12 weeks to reach market weight. Today, it takes roughly 38 days. That's not because of hormones, which are illegal in poultry almost everywhere, but because of decades of selective breeding and optimized nutrition. The constant environmental balance keeps the chickens calm, an important factor because stress alters hormone levels, which can affect meat tenderness. Throughout the process, veterinarians oversee bird health through proactive vaccination schedules. By around 5 to 7 weeks, the chickens reach market weight, usually between 2.2 and 2.5 kilograms. So, now is the perfect time for the factories to get their stock. This phase might look simple from the outside, birds being moved from farm to plant, but in reality, it's one of the most sensitive and highly regulated steps in the entire supply chain. Because a stressed bird doesn't just lose weight, it affects the final meat texture, tenderness, and even frying behavior. Before anything starts, the processing plant sends in an official transport crew. Not random workers, but trained handlers certified in humane catching. Chickens are calmer in low light, their movement slows, and they group together naturally. Before birds are processed, they're placed in a chamber where oxygen is gradually replaced with a controlled mixture of carbon dioxide and nitrogen. The process is quick and painless. The birds lose consciousness calmly with no physical trauma or panic-induced stress. What was once a calm, softly lit holding area now opens into a bright, chilled industrial hall, filled with stainless steel machinery, conveyor belts, and a rhythm of controlled motion. This is where the biological form of the chicken transforms into a standardized food product. Now the line moves into evisceration, where internal organs are removed. Here you will see some high-speed machines make precise incisions, and workers extract the viscera, while trained inspectors visually check each carcass for abnormalities. The edible organs, like liver and gizzard, are separated and sent to a different line for cleaning and chilling. Every few seconds, veterinary inspectors stationed along the line examine carcasses for any signs of disease, bruising, or contamination. Birds that don't meet standards are automatically diverted from the main line for reinspection or removal. After rinsing, each carcass goes through chilling. The goal is to reduce the bird's core temperature to below 4 degrees Celsius within 2 hours. From here, the process splits. Some birds go for whole roasting, others to cut up lines for portioning. KFC's suppliers already prepare specific portion profiles to match restaurant product requirements. For example, the chicken used in a KFC zinger filet or hot wing isn't random. It's selected by muscle type, fat distribution, and even the geometry that allows the breading to coat evenly and fry uniformly. So how it all started? It begins in 1930 with Harlan Sanders, a man who would revolutionize not just how we eat chicken, but how we think about fast food entirely. Operating out of his humble gas station in Corbin, Kentucky, Sanders faced a fundamental problem that plagued every fried chicken operation of his era: time. Traditional pan frying required a grueling 30 minutes per order, making it impossible to serve the growing stream of hungry travelers passing through his station. While other cooks resigned themselves to the lengthy cooking process, he saw an opportunity. The results were immediate and dramatic. What once took half an hour now requires just 10 minutes. The pressurized environment created something extraordinary. It was sealed in moisture while developing that distinctive crispy exterior that would become KFC's signature. As demand exploded, Sanders refused to compromise on quality. He spent years perfecting what would become the most protected recipe in the food industry, his secret blend of 11 herbs and spices. Today, that original recipe remains unchanged, protected by security measures that rival state secrets. The complete formula is stored in a specially designed safe at KFC's Louisville headquarters, with access restricted to a handful of trusted executives. McCormick and Griffith Laboratories each produce exactly half of the spice mixture at their respective facilities. Neither company knows what the other contributes. The two halves are then shipped to a separate blending facility where they're combined into the final product. This elaborate security protocol ensures that even if one facility were compromised, the complete recipe would remain protected. Now that all the necessary preparation is done at the factory, the entire package arrives at different restaurant chains. That's why when you order, you get your meal within 5 minutes from any of their branches. Isn't it fascinating?
Whenever we hear the name bread, it gives us fresh morning vibes as it's been the most consumed staple foods around the world. But did you know that the type of wheat grain used plays an important role in how your bread turns out? Yes, that matters a lot. So those farmers know very well when to harvest the same wheat grains in different scenarios for different sorts of products. And here we are going to collect those hard kernels to make that fluffy, soft and flavorful bread we daily consume. Wheat is classified into two main categories based on its hardness: hard wheat and soft wheat. For making bread, hard wheat is the go-to choice. Why? Because it's all about protein content. So, here's how those bread production factories handled the massive quantities of raw wheat, which is loaded with lots of dirt, needed to be cleaned. And I think they did a great job, isn't it? And these factories very well know to take the grain's softest part and make it all powdery. When wheat grains are crushed and mixed with the husk, machines strain the mixture to separate and refine it, ensuring the flour reaches the perfect consistency. As soon as we have arrived where that fluffy bread is going to be made, we will see those large industrial mixers that literally combine all the ingredients and make the dough in no time. The dough is mixed at a precise temperature to activate the yeast, which is crucial for making the bread rise. Even after that, just like a regular batch of bread dough, this also needs some rest so it can raise, ultimately giving that fluffy, airy pockets in bread. Now it's time to divide it into individual portions for each loaf. This is done by highly accurate machines that ensure each piece of dough is the exact same size and weight. This consistency is important in large-scale production, so every loaf comes out uniform. Those machines have rollers and belts that stretch and fold the dough into shape without damaging the delicate gluten structure that has formed during fermentation. You know, these days, every other person is all into those multigrain breads and low-carb diet, right? No, it's not the trend. It's become important for those who literally crave for clean diet. The low-carb movement began gaining momentum in the late 20th century, thanks in part to diets like the Atkins diet, and more recently, the keto diet. And now we all love these breads. I mean, I can't even think of my breakfasts without bread. Literally, what's the purpose? Before the dough is baked, it needs to rise again. The dough is placed in warm, humid chambers for this final rise. This step is important because it's when the dough fully rises to its complete size. The timing of this final proof is very important. If the dough rises too much, it can collapse during baking. If it doesn't rise enough, the bread will turn out dense. Now comes the baking. The proofed loaves are moved into massive industrial ovens. These ovens are designed for consistent heat distribution, ensuring every loaf is baked evenly. The bread goes through what's known as oven spring. This is where the dough rapidly expands as the heat causes the remaining carbon dioxide to expand. Once the bread starts to rise in the oven, it begins to brown. Full-loaf bread packaging keeps the bread fresh and soft. It protects the bread from getting crushed or dirty while it's being transported and stored. You know, some of us are more like perfectionists who really care for even and customized slicing, unlike those who just scoop out a slice and throw some veggies on it, and they're good to go. It's time for slicing. Factories use high-speed slicing machines with incredibly sharp blades that cut through the loaves quickly. Are you enjoying this video? That's amazing if you do. We really appreciate your support and love. Please bear with us. Hey, what bread do you like the most? Because nowadays, unlimited categories have been invented.
If I ask you what's that one condiment you'll have for life, stop right there. Don't you say anything but ketchup. If you do, you'll probably lie. Guys, that's our die-hard childhood companion, don't you think? Let me take you inside the bulk ketchup production so you see for yourself what nostalgia it holds. Ketchup production begins with a crop that has been standardized for scale, the processing tomato. Unlike fresh market tomatoes, which prioritize appearance and juiciness, these are engineered for density, color uniformity, and higher soluble solids. Farmers contract their fields months in advance with processors such as Heinz, Hunt's, or Morningstar, ensuring the fruit meets strict parameters. The goal is uniformity. Every tomato delivered to the factory must provide predictable levels of sugar, acidity, and color. Processing tomatoes are bred for determinate ripening, meaning the bulk of the crop reaches maturity within a narrow harvest window. Harvesting is conducted with self-propelled tomato harvesters, each capable of handling up to 60 tons per hour. The machine uproots plants, shakes off soil, and conveys the fruit through an onboard sorting system. Electronic sensors and mechanical shakers remove dirt clods, vines, and unripe fruit, leaving only mature tomatoes. The crop is transferred into gondola-style trailers that hold about 25 metric tons each. These trailers are paired with shuttle trucks, enabling continuous harvest operations across vast acreages. Factories position themselves close to production zones because tomatoes deteriorate rapidly after harvest. Within 24 hours, enzymatic changes reduce firmness and flavor quality, making immediate processing essential. Trucks haul their loads directly from fields to plants where intake systems operate around the clock during peak season. At peak harvest, a single large ketchup facility can receive over 10,000 tons of tomatoes per day. Their batch must be good enough because factories measure Brix levels, a reading of soluble solids, mostly sugars, which must typically fall between 5.0 and 5.5 for ketchup-grade tomatoes. At the factory gates, the trucks unload into water. Long channels called flumes pull tons of tomatoes forward in a steady current. It's transport and cleaning in one move. By the time the fruit reaches the line, most of the soil and debris is already gone. On the conveyor belts, thousands of tomatoes pass optical scanners every minute. High-speed cameras read their color, size, and shape. Anything green, cracked, or rotten is blown off instantly with a jet of compressed air. What once took a team of inspectors is now handled in milliseconds. Ketchup's spread is global. The United States consumes the most per capita, averaging nearly 3 bottles per person annually. Germany follows closely, where ketchup is paired with sausages and fries. But no matter the region, the backbone of supply is industrial tomato paste and the distribution networks that move it. What's more shocking is that how brands standardize across markets while still adapting to local tastes. Heinz, for example, maintains a core recipe but adjusts sweetness and acidity depending on geography. Bottles destined for Canada are slightly less sweet than those for the Middle East. Factories coordinate globally, but subtle shifts ensure ketchup aligns with cultural preferences. A single multinational brand may operate more than 30 bottling plants worldwide. Combined, these facilities output billions of bottles annually. To keep this system synchronized, companies rely on advanced demand forecasting. Skip these deets and let's come to the core thing. Let me explain the philosophy of how it works. The approved fruit is crushed. The mash that comes out includes pulp, juice, skins, and seeds, but ketchup isn't juice, it needs a body. That's why the mash is heated immediately in what the industry calls a hot break. In seconds, the mix reaches near boiling temperatures. This stops enzymes that would thin the pulp and locks in the natural pectin. Without it, ketchup would run like water. Next come the finishers. These are industrial sieves that spin the mash at high speed. Pulp flows through while skins and seeds are discarded. Discarded but not wasted, though. They are sold for animal feed or even pressed for tomato seed oil. At this scale, even byproducts are part of the business. Massive vacuum evaporators pull water out until the mixture thickens into paste. 6 kilograms of raw tomatoes shrink into just 1. The result is stable, transportable, and ready for global trade. One factory can fill thousands of steel drums with paste, each holding 200 liters, and those drums move worldwide. A bottle of ketchup in London or Lagos might have started its life as paste from California's Central Valley. By the time this stage is complete, the fragile fruit from the field has been turned into an industrial ingredient, consistent, dense, and built for the demands of worldwide ketchup production. So until now you heard how it's done in scientific language, take a look how that mesh is going to be crushed into smooth ketchup in no time. To become the sauce known worldwide, that tomato paste needs balance: sweetness, acidity, and spice. That transformation starts in giant stainless steel mixing tanks. Each one can hold tens of thousands of liters, and every batch is formulated with mathematical precision. For this video's purpose, let me focus to one of them. To this, factories add water, vinegar, sugar, salt, and a tightly controlled blend of spices. The ratios aren't improvised. Recipes are logged in exact percentages, and ingredients are dosed automatically by computerized systems. Cooking produces ketchup, but not yet a safe product for global distribution. Before it can be packaged, every batch must be sterilized. This process, known as pasteurization, gives ketchup its long shelf life without relying on artificial preservatives. Here, automation takes over. Stainless steel filling lines can process up to 1,200 bottles per minute. The sauce is kept hot during filling to maintain flow and sterility. Factories use both glass and plastic depending on market demand. Glass is heavier and more expensive, but it preserves flavor longer and carries a sense of tradition. Plastic bottles are lighter, cheaper to transport, and squeezable set, making them the dominant choice in most regions today. Regardless of material, bottles undergo their own sterilization before they ever see ketchup. High-pressure rinsers blast them with filtered air, or they pass through tunnels of UV light to eliminate contaminants. Where did the ice cream sandwich even come from? Believe it or not, the very first known version popped up in New York City in the summer of 1899. Yes, it's that old. Street vendors, dressed in white aprons, sold slabs of vanilla ice cream pressed between two thin graham wafers for just a penny. No branding, no fancy packaging, just a cool, handheld treat to beat the heat. By the 1920s, rectangular chocolate cookies had replaced wafers, and the shape we all recognize today, flat, neat rectangles with creamy centers, began to dominate. Fast forward to today, and ice cream sandwiches have grown into a multi-billion-dollar industry. Factories around the world churn out millions of these treats every day. They're so popular that in the US alone, more than 200 million ice cream sandwiches are sold annually, making it one of the top-selling frozen novelties. The process begins not with ice cream, but with ingredients collection. Without milk, sugar, wheat, and cocoa, you simply can't make a sandwich, and the supply chain is global. Milk powder and cream often come from large dairy farms in the US, New Zealand, or parts of Europe where cows graze on lush pastures. Everything is carefully checked in quality control labs. Flour is tested for protein content, sugar is screened for particle size and purity, milk is analyzed for fat percentage, and cocoa is inspected for moisture levels. If even one ingredient doesn't meet the standard, it's rejected. Big factories can't risk producing millions of sandwiches with a flaw. The loss would be enormous. Factories actually store these ingredients differently depending on how they'll be used. The basic ingredients are milk, cream, sugar, and stabilizers. Factories often use skim milk powder instead of relying solely on fresh milk. Why? Because powder allows precise control over solids content, and it stores for months without spoiling. Fresh cream or condensed milk is then added back to adjust the fat level. For sandwich ice cream, fat content usually sits around 10%, just enough for creaminess but not so high that it oozes out when you bite into it. Factories don't make ice cream sandwiches one by one. They build them in synchronized flows where every cookie, every stream of ice cream, every wrapper has its place. The cooled chocolate biscuits that were stacked earlier are automatically loaded into hoppers. From there, robotic arms or vibrating feeders place them neatly onto moving conveyor belts. The line spaces them out in perfect intervals, one cookie every few inches, to match the timing of the ice cream deposit. Inside, the ice cream is kept at just the right serving temperature, around -5 degrees Celsius, and pushed through nozzles under high pressure. When the conveyor brings a cookie into position, the nozzle drops a perfectly measured slab of ice cream right on top. It's not scooped, it's extruded. The thickness of that ice cream block isn't random. Factories design it to be slightly thicker than the cookies combined, creating that signature bite where ice cream dominates but the cookies still frame it. Usually it's around 1.5 to 2 centimeters. Too thin, and customers feel cheated. Too thick, and it becomes difficult to bite through before the cookies break. By the time a sandwich reaches the supermarket freezer, it has survived a complex process. Baked cookies, frozen fillings, precision assembly, and all of that so you can peel back the wrapper in seconds and take a bite.